on.
It's another wonderful day in our Northwest neighborhood. What is up, people?
What's up, Dan?
Hey, we are here. This is Talent Talk. We come to you every Friday live across platforms. Where we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I mean, where else are we? We're like in several places today and every Friday. So just wanted to say welcome. We always have a great team, right? So let's kick it off by looking at who's up above me. Steve the Chung Manchung. Steve Manchung, whoop whoop in the house. And then we have two guests today, right? So we have our in-house guest host from our Lacey office. So Marlene is in the house. So good morning to you. She is one of our awesome brokers. And we have our guest today from Fairway Mortgage, Mr. Chris Maxwell.
What's up?
Yay! So good to see you guys. It's so great to be here. I'm actually tucked away in one of your offices here, Chris. So
that's great.
Me
too. Got all the compliance stuff right there. We're good.
Yep. So you know what? We're all here together, and we've got you on the lending tip, because what we are talking about today is first time home buyers guide 2022. All of the frequently asked questions, all the tips and the tricks and the money and all the things that first time home buyers might have questions about in our market today. So we are going to get some information going and a whole bunch of things. We got lots of questions. We want to invite our audience also to ask some questions on, what are some of the questions that we get from first time home buyers. So, I think, who wants to start off with one of our first questions? I actually have one in mind, which is one that I was fearful of. I'll hold it if one of you guys want to go ahead and start it off.
One of the questions that I get asked a lot is now the best time to buy. With interest rates the way they are, home prices, the market, is it going to crash? Is now a good time to buy? What do you guys think?
Is it a good time? What do you tell them?
So I think it is still a good time to buy for a number of reasons, especially in the Pacific Northwest. So our housing market in this area of the country is pretty stable. As we know, it's growing very, very rapidly. Year over year, you have about 22% appreciation in houses. The big question that I get when I talk to people about this is normally in my first initial conversation, people always say, Chris, what do you think is the housing market going to crash? And so our economy is a cyclical economy, which means it does the same thing over and over and over and over again, right? Mm-hmm. The housing market has crashed 5 times in American history. 4 of those times were pre-1950. This is really easy to look it up on Wikipedia, all this stuff. So 4 times before 1950, 1 time after 1950, and that was in 2008. And I wasn't a lender then, but watching The Big Short, we all know that lenders were lending to anything and anyone and people that didn't even exist. So things are different now. You have to really be able to buy your house. People have lower interest rates, and the market's pretty stable. So we're not going to see a bunch of foreclosures start hitting the market or anything like that that's going to make the market go down. Interest rates are probably going to continue to go up because inflation yesterday was reported at 8.3%. So we're going to see interest rates continue to go up until the Fed gets that under the control. And housing prices may eventually slow, but they're going to continue to rise. So buying now is really good. And if the interest rate goes down, you can always refinance. And if you're doing a conventional loan and your house is appreciating, you refinance at a lower rate, your house goes up in value, you drop your PMI, and you make your mortgage payment way better. So I would say buying now is the best thing to do. Rent prices are going to continue to go up every year, but your mortgage payment, if you buy today, will stay the same from now till the next 30 years, minus property taxes going up.
Yeah, I think that actually is a good when you talk about, renting versus buying. I think that brings into another question. But as you were talking about the prices, interest rates have gone up fairly significantly in the last few months, and it can be extremely scary. And we keep saying, "Hey, now's this bright time to buy," and interest rates are gone up, and it's still now's the right time to buy, right? I mean, also investing in real estate actually is one of the best investments that you can make. Let's talk a little
Mhm.
bit about the rent versus buy. What are we, anything we can glean from, what are the advantages? But somebody say, well, why should I buy? What's the difference in renting versus buying? Why? Like, why
Well,
buy instead of rent?
and the biggest reason why is even if you rent, you're paying a mortgage payment. It may not be your mortgage payment, but you're paying somebody else's mortgage payment, and they're not paying anything for it. So why not pay your own mortgage payment, get your own equity in your house, and make your house work for you later? So the difference between, people say this all the time, the difference between someone that's rich and someone that's wealthy, someone that rich may have a lot of money in their bank account, but they're still working and they're still doing what they're supposed to do all the time. But a wealthy person gets a house under contract, they start getting equity, they make that equity work for them, and they continue to grow their money using assets. So if you really want to, you know, get to the bare bones of things, if you want to be, I would say, losing money every month, you rent, because essentially you're just giving your money to someone else to become wealthy. If you want to become wealthy one day or even be solid upper middle class, you want to buy a house. Buying a house is still the very best investment that there is.
And that equity will down the road really be wonderful for you. I mean, you can put kids through college, you can,
Mhm.
do additions to your homes, you can go on trips. Um, make sure you buy. It's the way to go. But a lot of people can't buy too right now. So you need to be ready to buy.
Yeah.
You need to be sure that you've got some money, because if you're going to buy, you have to have some money up front.
Yeah. One of the first things
Yeah, explore that a little bit.
about
Um,
buying,
oh,
No,
Bob,
go ahead, Steve.
well, Marlene was talking about buying, and we've been talking about purchasing, getting in, kind of leading into some generational wealth, and setting yourself up for the long run. I think when we talk about renting versus buying, that's probably a huge thing that a lot of times people don't think about. When you're a first time home buyer, some of the challenges, and now I'm thinking even about challenges that we're seeing, is that we're still in a seller's market. So thinking about that, even as a buyer right now trying to purchase a home, what I guess when we're out there and we're competing against other buyers for a limited amount of inventory, like how do we win offers? How do we get our offers accepted?
Well, I think Davina touches on a really good point a lot of times in our John L. Scott meetings when she says real estate is relationship based. So number one, you want to work with a real estate agent that has some relationships, right? So you don't want to be out there by yourself. If I go out and I try to buy a house right now and I don't use a real estate agent, I don't have a relationship with anybody at all. So I go in there, I don't know what I'm getting into, and it's going to make things a little bit harder, right? So relationships are really, really important. You want to use people that are local. You don't want to use, a real estate agent from Bremerton to try to buy a house in Lacey, because that guy in Bremerton is used to selling houses at $1 million to $1.5 million like it's nothing, and then he comes down here and there's 400 people trying to buy a $500,000 house, and he just doesn't know how to compete in this market. So you want to get people that are local. You want to get a local lender, because let me tell you, I get 95% of my referrals from real estate agents. And so when I get a client that comes in that does a home loan, yeah, I'm trying to impress that client with, everything that I know, give them the lowest rate that I possibly can. But if I don't close that deal, that real estate agent is never going to give me anything again. So you want to use somebody that's local. If you use somebody from these big box lenders that are in Missouri and Arkansas, they don't care, because if your loan doesn't qualify and it doesn't go through, their phone's going to ring in 5 minutes because they're all over the internet. So you want to get somebody that's local. I know tons of real estate agents in this market. They know what each lender's reputation is, and that will help you win the day, right?
Yeah.
The other thing you want to do is back in the day when I first started, there was two kinds of qualifications. So there was a pre-qualification and there was a pre-approval. In that day and time, the pre-approval was the gold standard. So basically a pre-qualification, you go online, you fill out the application, you put in how much money you think you make, and I'm not going to lie, when I go on, I do stuff online, I brag about myself a little bit. Maybe I make $4,000 a month, but I'm going to put in $5,000 because it's cool. Or I'll tell you, when you go to an auto, right, they don't check income. So you just go, hey, I make this much money so I can buy that car, right? So that's kind of what a pre-qualification is. So if you have a pre-qualification letter and it says pre-qualification on it and you give it to an agent, agents are smart. They know what that means. They know that means you haven't turned in documents. Yeah, you filled out your own application. Nobody's looked at your stuff, and maybe you're good, but there's risk, right? So that adds risk to the seller accepting your offer, because that seller still has to make mortgage payments every month. That seller may have another house lined up that they're going to buy later. So what a lender can do is a lender can lower that risk for a seller to accept your offer. So that's where a pre-approval comes in. Pre-approval, loan officer looks at all your stuff. They look at all your documents. They calculate all your income up for you. They make sure everything's good to go. And then a loan officer will say, you are pre-approved. You're good to go. So me, as a licensed loan officer, federal government, I say in the state of Washington, I say you're good to go, taking tons of classes. You're probably good. But the pre-approval is not the gold standard anymore. Pre-approval is still really good, but the gold standard is to be credit underwritten, which means an underwriter has now checked all of my work, and an underwriter has says you're good to go. And it's almost like a cash offer, because all the underwriter is saying at that point is we need an appraisal, homeowner's insurance, earnest money, and a contract, and this person is good to go. So you want to get pre-underwritten, because what you want to do is you want to stand out by lowering your risk to that seller. So when that seller accepts your offer, they know their house is going to close. And that's what you want to do. So that's one way to kind of win in a seller's market. Stand out. I would say every time I call a listing agent, I get, Chris, are they pre-underwritten? It's like the first words out of their mouth. And I want to say yes.
Yeah, you just said a really huge mouthful, Chris. So, I want to also say that if this, if you're a first time home buyer, or you are considering or know someone that might want to be in the market, and it's just really overwhelming and it's scary, because it is, if you don't know or aren't connected or have, the experience in purchasing homes, it's just reach out. We actually do first-time homebuyer seminars. We partner with Chris and our lender partners to help educate buyers before they even write an offer. Many times before they even go out and start looking at homes, because before you even start looking at homes, you should have already talked to a lending professional. So, hey, Credit Karma, right? So I don't need a lender. I can track my credit on Credit Karma. I'll just tell you what my credit score is, Chris, and you can tell me what I qualify for, and then we can be all good. Can't we?
Credit Karma. I hate Credit Karma. Credit Karma is a lot of fun. So what people don't know is Credit Karma was actually a competitor to FICO scores. Back in the day when FICO was getting a lot of smack from Congress about how do you come up with these scores and stuff. So Credit Karma got into the market to try to compete with FICO, to say, hey, here's our score. If we're not going to use FICO anymore, here's an alternative, right? Well, Credit Karma has a much different algorithm than FICO does. So, for instance, if Credit Karma sees you have a credit pool, your credit score is going to go down like 3 points. With FICO, it depends on what kind of pool that is because they have numerous different FICO scores. They have a mortgage FICO score, a general FICO score, an auto FICO score. There's just many different kinds. So the big thing with the federal government is that they're heavily regulating mortgages since our crash in 2008, 2012. And so they want to make sure that people that are buying houses actually qualify for the houses that they are buying. And so that's why we have to pull credit. That's why we have to get all these documents. Credit Karma is a good guide. I tell people all the time, go on there and get your credit report because you can see what's going on. But the credit score is not what your FICO is going to be. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not.
Yeah.
But it's a good guide.
Yeah. Hey, if you're just joining us right now and you're tuning in, we are talking about the most frequently asked questions about purchasing a home. If you have any comments or questions yourself, feel free to drop those in the comment section. We'd love to answer those questions. So,
and thank you, Penny. Love this info. We love talking through this, and as things change, things change. We have to adjust and shift, like right with the market, and it's really, say the word fun, but it's really refreshing to keep having conversations about how to be better and what we can do to help our clients and even ourselves. Many of us we're real estate agents, but we actually are consumers too, right? A lot of us are walking through these same situations and circumstances as well. So this is really good. Now, I keep talking. I'm gonna be quiet for a second so we can let our other Steve and Marlene.
Yeah, you keep talking. What about me?
I think, Chris, you're talking the most, right?
I'll be quiet.
The lending. I think what's also important is the fact that so many people, when we work with new buyers, they come in, they're so happy, they're excited, and they have no idea, absolutely no idea of the contracts, what they mean, there's timelines on contracts. And back to what Chris had to say, lending is so important. Agents stay in contact with lenders, escrow people. If there's projects that need to be done, we need to stay in touch with all of those. And so we work very hard from the day we start for our clients till the day we close. And I think it's just always important to keep in mind that a good agent's going to take a contract and do some pre-work with you. We're going to sit down and explain a contract before you sign it. You're going to know the deadlines. You're going to know what's going to be required. And to have that in-town local lender on board is the best. Otherwise, you're trying to reach a lender in New York that is several hours difference. You can't get a hold of them on a weekend. So if you run into a glitch on your lending and have just a question, a normal question, you call them on Monday. You have to go the whole weekend. You call them on Monday and they're out sick or on vacation. Where's the file? Nobody knows anything. So it's so important to work local and work with good local people, and we will walk you through every step of that way. We're there 24 hours, really, a day for you, if it's a crunch.
Yeah.
Except 2 a.m. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
well, we've had our
moments.
That guys in Afghanistan called me at 3 a.m. before. It's okay.
Yeah.
2
Hey,
p.m. there.
Happy Joe.
Happy Joe.
So, and if anyone has any comments or any questions, like what are some of the questions that might come up in the home buying realm, we'd be happy to hear from you. I think one, Steve, what about, and I'm going to ask Steve and then Chris, you can do this. Steve's been in the business for a really long time. So Steve, we do a lot of VA home loans, right? So haven't you heard, our buyers that are like, well, I don't have to have any money. I'm doing a VA loan. I don't need anything.
You still need money, a little bit of money, but you're still going to need some money to purchase a property. And I would advise you really to speak with your local professional or a professional broker and just find out, because everything from like a down payment to your closing costs to inspection fees. It can vary. I mean, if you have no money, we can work with you. When we talk about Davina mentioned VA home loans. One of the benefits of being a veteran is that you can have a zero down payment home loan, but you still have to factor in that there are closing costs involved. Um, you still have to factor in that you have to get a home inspection done, and there's a cost to that. And we can actually sit down with you and itemize and go through a lot of those costs.
Earnest money is a big one too.
Earnest money, yes, thank you, Davina. So, earnest money, inspection fees, those are some of the minimums that you have to have. So I would probably suggest maybe calling out, reaching out to your professional, like Marlene said, because we can actually help guide you in the right direction and answer some of those questions when it comes to like how much money do I need, down payment. There's down payment assistance programs available to a lot of buyers out there, but you don't know until you actually research into it.
Yeah.
We have a lot of
There's
professionals.
Chris, yes, and then we have Chris who can help us with questions like that, because one of the things that we hear is, okay, well, if I'm a VA buyer and I have no down payment, then why would I need down payment assistance? And those can actually work together, can they not?
Yes. So the big thing with VA is, yes, you do not need a down payment in 99% of circumstances. There is a circumstance where you may need a down payment, but when you talk to a lender, he can go through that with you. And it's basically if you own a house somewhere else and then you're trying to buy a house, say in Thurston County, and use second tier entitlement, then you may need a down payment, right? But generally speaking, this is like a sort of question, right? So this is, you talk to your lender and your lender tells you how much closing costs are. And then you talk to your agent and then you put an offer on a house, and it's situation dependent, right? So you could have the seller pay your closing cost, but this is a seller's market. Everybody's paying their closing cost, right? So yes, you may need closing costs in this market. I would say 90% of the offers you will need closing costs to be able. You'll have to pay them yourself. They generally run about 2% for VA. Sometimes, depending on the lender, it may be 3%, right? So it's really situation dependent. You really have to talk through to see what if you're putting an offer on a house for 30 days, you might be able to get closing costs. You never know if that house has been on the market for a really long time. Anyway.
You can use, and then I was kind of getting at, you can use down payment assistance to actually pay your closing costs too.
Yes, you can. And you can use an unsecured loan, and you can also use a secured loan as well.
And you can get gift funds from.
You can get gift funds from parents. You can't get gift funds from friends. Just remember that. So your specialist next door that just got his bonus, he can't give you the money, right? But if you have a dad that wants to give you gift funds, he can certainly do that.
Your parents can also help you buy a home with their equity.
They can.
So that's another reason to have equity in a home.
Yep. They can do a HELOC and take that money out and help you out.
Yeah. I would suggest, if you're thinking about purchasing a home loan, talking with a professional, because every situation is different. In circumstances between the buyers that you're working with or you as a buyer, and even the seller who's looking at selling their home. A great real estate agent that you have working for you could really get that information and help you put together a strategy and a plan to be able to purchase that home if you're looking at buying. We talk about winning offers in this market because it's such a competitive market, especially if you're on the buyer side of it, where you have, for every one house, you have 3 or 4 buyers who are wanting to purchase this home, and having the right real estate agent to be able to guide you, give you information, and help you structure an offer that's going to help you get that property is paramount in this market. So
yeah, and it looks like we have a question, and this is one for you, Mr. Chris Maxwell.
Yes.
Is there a limit on gift funds amount?
So here's the cool thing. There are a ton of loan programs, right? So there are many, many different loan programs. Each loan program has their own guideline as far as how much gift funds you can get. Some there's no limit at all. Some there are limits on them. With VA, the seller can contribute up to 4%, or I think it might be 6%. I'll have to relook at the guidelines and know exactly for sure. But there are limits on some programs. Some programs there's no limits at all.
Okay, so maybe not. Right?
Right? Everything in lending is maybe.
It depends.
It depends. So like conventional loans are very black and white, right? So there's a guideline and you must go by the guideline. The VA guideline is we want veterans to buy houses. So everything in the VA guidelines is pretty gray, because if you read the VA guidelines and you get to the very bottom, the very last sentence, the VA for every single guideline says, underwriter, use some common sense. It literally says that in there. So each loan program is a little different, but VA is easy because it's all gray. It's all up to interpretation.
It's all gray.
I like to interpret it so my clients buy houses.
Yeah, well, you can straddle the line, right?
Right.
So, all right. I think we are like running out of time. If anyone has any last minute questions, feel free to pop up. Just one more thing in regards to buying a home. We've talked about buying a home and then having the second property. You even mentioned it, Chris. You've mentioned, Marlene, equity out of another home. What about, if I'm afraid to buy a home, and maybe I'm not a first-time home buyer, but I want to move, but I'm afraid to buy because I already own a home and I know my home's going to sell really fast and I don't want to be homeless. What do we say to those buyers?
So this one is, I do this a lot. I've got like 3 or 4 deals with this right now. I've got a guy buying in Georgia, selling in Washington. He's selling his current house. I have a couple other people that are selling their current houses in Washington, another house in Washington. So essentially what we do is you can go ahead and get pre-approved now, and you can start looking for a house as you're sitting in your current house. And then agents know more about like contingency offers and all of that stuff. But essentially you can put an offer on another house to buy it. Then you list your house. Agents obviously know more about that portion of it than I do because it goes in the real estate contract. But we can get pre-approved, and then we can do what's called a simultaneous same-day sign-up funding of both houses. Okay. So you can close on your current house in the morning, and then we close on your new house in the afternoon. Okay. And there are so many options with that. You can do rent backs, so you can move out. You can do possession date stuff, but that is like a Davina, Steve, Marlene question type of thing. But yes, you can buy at the same time.
Yeah, and we can put a plug-in for our buyer ready program, right? Our plus programs where we offer solutions to home buyers that can be that bridge to the home. And as you can see, we do provide free consultations at no cost, as you see that ticker going across the bottom of the screen. So we need to wrap this thing up. Steve, you got somewhere that you got to go, right?
I do. So we've got a Forms Friday class coming up in about 9 minutes. If you're a real estate broker, check it out. You could register on our Facebook page or through our website. We also have a few other events coming up this week, which are, I think we have a career night coming up.
We do. It is
May 24th.
Is it next week?
A couple weeks, 2 weeks out, May 24th. So if you're looking to get a real estate license, register, you can come to our website, register for the class. And then we have training classes going on as well. One of the ones coming up is going to be marketing classes, Reels for Realtors Part 2. We also have Ask Me Anything event in class coming up, and also an Instagram blueprint class. So if you're looking at getting educated, building your business, knowing more, come check out our webpage, our Facebook page, and we have a whole calendar of classes available to brokers who are looking at just kind of building their business, and even for the consumers who are looking to get more information. We
That's
want to
right.
be your real estate resource.
That's right. And, I will put just a plug in. One of the things that we've been talking about, Chris, want to thank you for coming. We're sharing your information out as we speak as well. If you want to get a hold of Chris, ask him anything.
You can ask me anything. I don't care. I have people ask
He
me,
will definitely give you an
"You're
answer.
first sergeant. How do I get promoted?" But I can help.
Yes. So, and another thing that is really one of the things that Fairway has been talking to us about that has been really great in education is reverse mortgages. There's a lot of misconceptions with reverse mortgages. There are some first-time homebuyers that actually can purchase using a reverse mortgage. Hello, that's news as well. So we might have a reverse mortgage class or
Good
show
idea.
on here, a Q&A. So thank you so much for joining us today, Chris, and answering the questions and giving us some insight. And then Marlene, our angel, thank you so much for being on with us today.
Thank you. And for the new buyers or people wanting to change, don't get down. I mean, just realize the market has a lot to do with this. And I want you to know that we as John L. Scott agents are there for you. We will work hard and eventually we'll get you what you want. Know what you want when you're going in, though.
Yeah.
And that too can change, right? We don't know till we know, but yes. Keep your head up, right? That's what we're telling them, right, Marlene?
Exactly.
Keep your head up. All right. Okay, so we are about to head on out and head into the rest of our day. And there's a couple words that we end on every single week. Who's going to take us out today?
I will.
Who wants to volunteer?
Marlene.
Right.
1, 2,
Okay,
3.
well, Marlene, what does be bold before you count it out? What does be bold mean to you?
Be bold means stepping out of your normal circle and trying to do better and be better and help others to do better and be better.
I like it.
1, 2, 3. Be bold.
Be bold. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.